I had 3 months staying in my parents' flat in Cape Town with this magnificent view of Table Mountain, the city below it, and Table Bay, where I enjoyed lots of kite surfing in strong conditions with friends from around the world. There was also some hiking with my sister Pam and later with Christina, plus a little rock climbing with old friends Alistair and Leslie near their home in Montague, albeit for me only top roping belayed by Erica with her boyfriend Cody watching. We made a side trip to Cape Agulhas and later an excursion to Kruger National Park with symbolic male kudu, the always impressive lions, and this time an iconic leopard in a tree, spotted by Erica, whose photo is much better. Eventually, I turned my attention back to sea change, safely ensconced in the Royal Cape Yacht Club, where any empty dock finger is occupied by Cape fur seals, and there are rows of new leopard catamarans awaiting shipping north. In addition to replacing the leaking external oil line with a new assembly from Myanmar and swapping out the transmission with a used one that was reconditioned in New Zealand, I reinforced seams and patched weak spots on the jib and later the mainsail, turning our flat in Milnerton into a tiny loft, not to be confused with the huge north sail loft nearby. I also enjoyed several hikes up Table Mountain with different groups of cruisers and kitesurfers, and used my car, not the one on the left, to help other cruisers reprovision with diesel and then check out, like Barry on White Shadow at the end of the table here, Sana and her delivery crew of Nick on the left and Wim on the right on Bounty, and Per on Link 1 and Christoph on Tin Lizzie, as they provisioned with fresh produce for the passage to Saint Helena, something I too would do a couple of weeks later for this long leg. With the large boats of the Oyster and then the World Ark fleets well ahead of me and out of the way, nearing the end of February, it was time for me to leave my home country and my second home city. It's Sunday the 23rd of February. Now I'm finally leaving Royal Cape Yacht Club in Cape Town. And there's a fire in Newlands Ravine giving some smoke on Table Mountain. But yeah, otherwise all good. Motoring out. Hopefully pick up a southeaster later. There's Lion's Head and Lion's Rump or Signal Hill. We're headed off to Saint Helena. We're passing Robben Island. It's our last landmark. We've got a southwesterly breeze this morning before the southerly comes through, so still running the engine because I want to make sure that everything's okay, and so far it all seems fine. And behind us is Blobergstrand, where I kite. Our first sunset of the trip, very nice one. We've had southwest wind all day. At some point it's going to go south. Take down the main, I'll just go with the jib. While it was a glorious sunset, it presaged a very rough night, both because we were in the middle of the shipping lanes with regular AIS alarms, like for this ship that was way too close for comfort, and the predicted strong southeaster had filled in. Here we are the white dot in the middle of this PredictWind ECMWF model forecast window, giving us strong and rough conditions, which continued through the next day and night, with the wind vane struggling to keep us on course. On the third night, in these conditions, we hit something that went thud, 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 as it hit the keel, skeg, and rudder, and then sea change headed upwind with the jib flailing, because the wind pilot rudder had also been hit and flipped up as designed. I imagine it was a large shark or a sunfish, and was the only unidentified object we hit in the entire circumnavigation. Now it's Wednesday the 24th. Man, we've had a wild ride since Cape Town. Sheesh. But we've survived these seas. Last night was right down to a sliver of jib. Now we've got about half of it out. already Thursday the 27th of February. Taken almost no video of this passage. Monday night was crazy, down to a sliver of the jib. Tuesday night was almost as bad, about a quarter of the jib. But since then, it's been lovely. Full jib, just cruising along. We should really put the main away, but haven't bothered to do that. Yeah, it's been lovely. I've really enjoyed the last 2 days and survived the first two. That's what we had to do to get this far and into the full trades here. Anyway, we're about maybe 9-10 days from Saint Helena. It's all good. In addition to the rough conditions, it was fairly cold in the Benguela current water, so I used a sleeping bag the first 4 nights and more jeans and jacket during the day, but it soon warmed up nicely in the next few days. There were lots of albatrosses, both the smaller yellow-nosed and larger southern royals, as well as many different shearwaters and a few storm petrels. And a pleasant change from the Indian Ocean was the complete absence of plastic trash. We were now properly into the consistent and gentler southeast trades, and blessedly out of the shipping lanes which were now further east. Plus, we had the pleasure of lovely sunrises like this one, something I would get up for every morning. It's Friday the 28th. Kind of a grey morning, but a pretty sunrise. Things have really calmed down. Waves are way, way down. Unfortunately, it also means the wind is down. But anyway, it'll come back during the day. And eventually we'll curve around to the west and run all the way over to Saint Helena. And there's the sun peeking over the clouds. Nice. Well, it's Saturday, March 1st, day 7 of this trip, passage to Saint Helena. And we are now rolling badly because we are going wing on wing. Straight downwind finally. We've been on a broad reach for the last 6 days. And we'll be on this for probably the next 6. Yeah, it was blowing hard last night, so I was down to the quadruple reefed main, about 1/3 of the jib. But it's lightening up, so time to go back to triple reefed. I finally caught a fish, a good size mahi-mahi, which contributed to a paella that was dinner for 4 days. We were now halfway to Saint Helena, 6 days into the passage and still sailing well at 5 knots. As usual, I also enjoyed the oceanic birds. In addition to the albatrosses seen every day for the first week, there were spectacled, giant and white-chinned shearwaters or petrels, and a few European white-rumped storm petrels. And as we approached Saint Helena, we started seeing yellow-billed tropic birds and sooty terns. That's Tuesday, the 4th of March. This is pretty much what we've had for the last few days. Beautiful, gorgeous, blue sky days. And light winds. Today, very light. But that's fine. We've got 550 miles to go to Saint Helena. And I don't want to get there on the weekend. I want to get there Monday morning. So we want to go slowly. All good. It's Wednesday, March 6th. We have sunrise. Very nice. It's starting to get warm. It's feeling like the tropics. This is more like it. And we have 4 days to go to Saint Helena. And looking forward, as our sails lit up, haven't touched the sails or the wind vane in at least 24 hours. We're just cruising along and the trade winds here. It's light, but better than yesterday. Yesterday we had very little wind, doing 2 to 3 knots. Now we're doing 5-6, which is nice. Wow, this is the first sunset I've had where it actually went to the horizon. We've had a bank of clouds on the western horizon every sunset so far. and every sunrise too on the eastern. But this is a beauty. It's Thursday, March 6th, just about after 9, and we have a momentous occasion coming up if the satellite on the Lumen. Yes, oh there we go, it jumped over. We just crossed into the Western Hemisphere, just past Greenwich Mean Time. You see the satellite icon there beeping means we've suddenly lost the GPS. There it comes back again. How annoying. Anyway, we're cruising along. You can see we're doing 6 knots. And yeah, we have, it's kind of hard to see, we have 370 miles left to go. Doing 5-6 knots here. And I'm hoping to get in Sunday afternoon. We'll see if that's possible. And then outside, it's kind of a grey morning. We've got a very weak, wide squall chasing us down here, but it's not going to be a big deal. They've got full sail set to try to keep us on schedule. Some sort of large porpoise whale over there periodically breaks the surface. There it is. This is the first hint of cetacean that I've seen for days and days now. Yeah, blunt-head, black body. I'm guessing pilot whales. And we have landfall. Sunday, March 9th on Saint Helena Island. The sun is just above the clouds, so we get a little bit of light on it. Looks pretty dark otherwise with cloud over it. We're going slowly because we don't want to get here too soon and have a light for anchoring. It's supposed to be tricky. It's a bit of a grey day so far, but here's Saint Helena. Very steep cliffs all the way around. On the back there's some trees and houses, and the airport's over on this side over here. Behind us there's just the promise of some clear skies, so I'm hoping that'll arrive by the time I get in there. But the wind is almost completely died and we're just banging along here, about 2 to 3 knots. Alright, now the sky is mostly clear, we got sunshine, and here is the island. It's very rugged on this side, the southeast side, exposed to the trades and eroded badly. If I zoom in, maybe see the strata laid down by the volcano, presumably eons ago. And this big lump over here, I think it's called Bang Point, looks like it's tilted out towards the sea. Anyway, we're going very slowly, waiting for the sun. Now that it's here, I think we're going to have to put the engine on because we've just run out of grease. Motor in, it's around the corner. Jamestown is around that next corner. It turned out that I didn't have to start the engine. Nice breeze filled in. So we've been sailing all the way in here. This is that big promontory, Barn Rock. This bay here is called Flagstaff Bay, pretty unappetizing. This rock here is called Sugarloaf. And we go around this little point right in the front here with a light on it. That's Rupert Bay in Jamestown. So we're coming up to Jamestown here. Sort of an industrial kind of harbour on the left here. And then on the right, sort of dead ahead of us now, where the boats are anchored. And up there is most of the town up on the hill. And this silvery sort of line going up the hill is the 699 steps that go from the bottom up to the top of the town. And I made it into Saint Helena this morning, or like lunchtime. And yeah, there's a Manxman over there, Gary. This is Jürgen and Leon, and he's busy grinding away on his big steel boat. I've lost its name already, unfortunately. And around here is Tom on Skyfall, and on the left there is Barry Perrins on Point Shallow. This is the view from the landing wharf, with the local yacht club building on the left and the foreshore with Jacob's Ladder in the background. The ladder is the remains of a transport system to take horse manure from the village below to farms on the hill above, and today is a tourist attraction as well as an athletic challenge that I would tackle later. Nearby is a well-made ancient stone ditch and tunnel that used to serve as the major source of water. Indeed, the island is replete with old ruins built with stone. Like so many islands, Saint Helena has its own tragic story of loss of endemic species, as documented in their local museum. In this case, the usual flightless rails shown at the bottom, but also some remarkable ones like a cuckoo and a hoopoe, and of course many seabirds as their nesting habitat was destroyed, or rats and cats wiped them off the main island. Later on, we would see the one remaining endemic bird. For an entomologist like me, the giant earwig was particularly interesting, but again it appears to be extinct, with these two sad specimens in the museum. The museum is largely dedicated to the horrific stories of slavery on the island, followed by the British Navy's use of the island as a base for anti-slavery raids on non-British ships after abolition. And then, of course, the imprisonment of Napoleon and his death on the island, followed by repatriation of his remains to France. But two other stories caught my eye. Growing up in South Africa, I had heard about the British internment of Boer fighters on Saint Helena, along with several other places, during the Boer War around 1900. And their stories were interesting, and later we would see the Boer cemetery, as many of them never made it back to South Africa. The British also interned a Zulu chief named Dinu Zulu Kaketshwayo here for 7 years. Finally, there was the fascinating story of the only known escapee from the island, a Dutchman who managed to sail to Brazil. But obviously, you'll have to stop the video repeatedly if you want to read it all. Saint Helena is a highly eroded volcanic remnant, and hence getting around the island involves tortuous roads, so I rented a car for 4 of us to see at least a little more than just Jamestown. Hergen, Leon, and Sana joined me. We tried going to the southwest corner with some rainforest on the highest parts of the island, which was fun until the rain became torrential. So we bailed to the lower and drier eastern side of the island to visit the gardens around the mansion called Longwood that the British built to accommodate Napoleon and his entourage. Then, on a nearby dry golf course, we found the one remaining endemic land bird, the emblematic bird of the island, called the Saint Helena plover, but locally known as a wirebird, which is thought to have survived the arrival of humans because it retained flight ability. Further southeast, we visited an unusual area near the newly built airport called the Millennium Forest that purports to be a rehabilitation site for a native bush or tree called the Saint Helena gumwood that once covered much of the island. This is the airport down there that they leveled out a few years ago. And these plants in front, I'm given to understand, are gumwood trees. This is called the Millennium Forest because they planted it around about 2000. It doesn't quite look like a forest, but oh well. Back in Jamestown, the afternoon sun lit up our little fleet anchored in deep water, and in the foreground the little ferry that transported us to the wharf and back, the wharf being difficult to access by dinghy. Our fleet was dwarfed by the local mooring field filled with small fishing and dive boats. Access to the village of Jamestown from the foreshore is via this gate through the castle wall, and on the inner side is a painting of a wirebird. The main road leads up the valley with a prominent church, and on the left side is the castle gardens, which were well maintained and lush. And there I found a little plaque recording that the first person to sail solo around the world, Joshua Slocum, gave a lecture about his amazing adventure in 1898, apparently in this nondescript building. Even the little yacht club down on the wharf and hard against the cliff behind it is better looking. So there's the anchorage. We're walking up a hill here, and here's Jamestown itself. There's the ladder going up, Jacob's ladder, up to a fort up at the top. And then here's the rest of Jamestown, just a very narrow village, little town goes up the valley here. This walk with the delivery crew of Bounty, Sana, Wim and Nick, was a hike northeast along a coastal trail that gave us even better views of the anchorage and the local boats below. The trail led a long way to the Sugarloaf Bluff I had passed on my way in, complete with various fortifications, most of which are in ruins, but some barricades and bridges remain. The next morning I went on a bird-watching boat trip to the western corner of the island that also promised the possibility of seeing and swimming with a whale shark, one of the major tourist attractions of the island, as large numbers congregate here each summer, apparently for mating. We eventually found one, and these are pictures and videos taken by the naturalist on the boat. In the video, I can be seen hiding behind the dive ladder, as I could not easily get out of the way of the inquisitive shark. That afternoon, once it was out of direct sunshine, I finally climbed the 699 steps of Jacob's Ladder, taking a break every 100 steps for these views of the anchorage and the compact village of Jamestown. The final third is particularly steep, so I stopped every 50 steps. After hitchhiking back down to save my knees, I enjoyed a fare on the foreshore, and that evening raised the anchor and continued west-northwest towards the island of Fernando de Noronha, off the eastern corner of Brazil, and about 1,700 miles away, the same distance as I had already covered in this first leg of my 4th season from Cape Town.